Going on YouTube, Cloverbell's here back with another Scarlet Violet video, and today we're hopping back into Showdown here to do a little bit of team building with Lunala for today's video. So we're going back to the bread and butter of our channel. Of course, we love to team build. We love to showcase different ways to build certain squads here, and this is no different, of course, with our restricted here. So Lunala, again, one of the Pokemon that you see at the bottom of your screen here on our graphic. Okay, you know, are we going to build that team? You'll have to wait and see, but when you play something like Lunala, okay, you know, you're accepting the fact that you have to work a little bit harder than normal as far as like restricted Pokemon is concerned. You're not as good as like the top 5 here. You know, you don't have a broken spread move like the Calyrex Shadow Rider and the Calyrex Ice Rider. You're not as fast as them, and you're not even as slow as them, you know, to take advantage of your Trick Room. So your speed is a little bit mid-tier, right? So that means you can kind of play in Trick Room technically, but you can also play under Tailwind because, again, 97 base speed is not that slow either, even though it's not that fast. So you can kind of play both modes here, and that's what we're going to do here. Okay, but at the same time, you share the same weaknesses as the Shadow Rider. You know, you are a Psychic Ghost type, and, you know, you just have to accept it. You know, you're going to work harder than the Shadow Rider, but there are some things that you can do that the Shadow Rider cannot do, okay? And you just have to, you know, patch it up a little bit, you know, with your team building as far as like some of your weaknesses are concerned. So what are some things that are really good against Lunala? You know, you have to consider the dark types like Incineroar, the Chi-Yu, you know, with Snarl support / Dark Pulse, and then of course the Urshifu single strike here. These are like the most common threats to not only the Shadow Rider but also the Lunala. Whatever threatens the Shadow Rider will also technically threaten the Lunala, just because you know, the typing is shared amongst the two of them, right? So you have to be aware of these three technically. And there's other dark types, of course, running around here. Like, you know, consider Chen-Pao's Sucker Punch plays. That's another one that I guess, you know, like, here's your top 4 in terms of threats to Lunala here, right? So one way to, you know, go about this is what people have done already is just to, you know, add Power Herb Meteor Beam over this, right? Because look how much this hits. It hits all of these guys besides the Urshifu here. So you can one-shot the Incineroars, you can, you know, destroy the Chi-Yus, and same thing with the Chen-Pao. Yes, they have a sash, but if you can break it, then the Chen-Pao just kind of drops here. And then after that, you can just kind of get like a little boost here, you know, for, you know, stronger damage coming from your Moongeist beams. Okay, but oh, that's Moonblast. Well, we'll talk about Moonblast in a second. But, you know, this is some things that you have to be aware of, you know, with these 4, okay? So then after that, what are some ideas that you can do with Lunala moving forward, right? You know, you get Trick Room here. So that's one thing. And then, of course, your Moongeist Beam here. I keep typing in Moonblast. It must be a sign, right? It must be a sign. Moongeist Beam, Meteor Beam, Trick Room here. And then this third move here just kind of depends on where you take this squad here. You know, you have the option to just go for Wide Guard here and then just support your entire team. And this is sometimes the problem a little bit with Lunala. Like, you want to, you know, dish out offense, but you also want to be supportive. And it's hard for Lunala to do both sometimes. And that's what I mean. You're trying to do 2 jobs when it's kind of hard for it to do 2 jobs, which is why it's kind of better in a dual restricted format where Lunala can commit to being like the supportive restricted, and then you have another restricted partner that will be the damage dealer, right? This is why something like in the past Groudon was really good, you know, with Lunala, because again, you could just Wide Guard and set up Trick Room for your Groudon. It's pretty slow all in all, and then, you know, Kyogre can't really do so much there, or even like the other restricteds with broken spread moves. They can't really do too much to Groudon because you have the Wide Guard support here, right? So this is what I'm talking about. But as a single restricted, now you're just asking Lunala to do a lot for your squad here. So again, you can still play it, and there has been, you know, some successful teams, and we're going to show you those builds. But again, you just have to accept that, yes, I am going to have to work harder, but I still want to make Lunala work. Okay, so we can show you some pairs and some partners that you can, you know, accompany Lunala with. But before I do that, I want to show you a couple of sets and EV spreads that you can consider to use for Lunala yourself. So this way you can build your own squad here. So let's take a look at those sets. Okay, so here I've got 3 Lunalas on the screen here. That's because I want to show you different sets here. I want to show you 2 different types of Power Herb sets, and then of course this one here with Terra Fairy, Moonblast, and Calm Mind. This is another way that you can play Lunala, where you can just go for this bulky attacker to set up the Calm Mind, and then you can deal Moonblast. And this is one of the things that the Shadow Rider can't do, is because the Shadow Rider only gets stuff like, you know, Draining Kiss for that matter. but Lunala gets a stronger fairy move. And that's like one of the main selling points that you can do with Lunala over something like the Shadow Rider here. But let's start here first. So when you do some spreads with Lunala, you have to consider a couple things. One, do you want to survive the Urshifu Wicked Blow? And or do you want to survive a Astral Barrage from a Calyrex Shadow Rider here? And then you also have to denote your speeds here. Okay, so I'm going to show you a couple things, you know, with this Lunala set. And you know, the reason why I have this third move set blank here, or technically fourth, is you can do a couple things with this, right? You can either put Wide Guard here, you can put Protect, right? That's another thing you can do. Or you can also use Expanding Force, which is a common thing right now because this Lunala is going to be paired with a lot of Indeedees, okay? And a lot of our builds are going to have Indeedee because it's just a really good partner for it, right? You shut down the Sucker Punch plays, you protect Lunala, you know, with your redirection support. The Indeedee can click Trick Room too, and then at the same time, you know, if the Indeedee goes down, you can bring something else in, and then Lunala can just go ham after it's already set up in the Trick Room here. So what are some things you could do here? So if you're gonna play like Indeedee Tornado stuff, okay, or like with a Tailwind user, you have to pick a speed tier that's like kind of in the middle a little bit. And the easiest one to do right now is just invest 92 speed. This is gonna be faster than the fastest Pelipper, right? And that's really all you really need at that point here. So just 92 investment is all you're gonna need. After that, you can pretty much just max his attack here, but I'm gonna go one under and just go to 206, so this way I can get an even number for my Meteor Beam. All right, because again, if I have an odd number, this times 1.5 will give me a decimal, and then it just rounds down because in Pokemon things round down, they never round up. So let's go for this nice solid even number and just go to 206. And now you have 172 EVs left to play with. And now you just have to decide, well, what can I do with these EVs? Can I put more in my bulk here? You know, either physical, SPDEF, or maybe just dump the rest into HP. So the easiest way to do this is just do something like this, right? And call it a day. This is one of the more common Lunala spreads that you can do, right? So this is something that you can consider. Otherwise, you can do a little bit more and go into the damage calculator over here and start looking at certain things. So I'm going to go with the blank set here with Lunala, and then I'm going to compare this with the Urshifu, right? And, you know, some of them are adamant, and you can't quite live the adamant ideally, you know, so you'll just, I actually just come for Jolly here. So, you know, obviously with no investment, the Jolly Urshifu can just kind of pick up here. So what you can consider, right, is just going for some investment here. Let's just go, you know, 1 point in the SPDEF here. And then you can just kind of do something like this where you're just mixing and matching, you know, with these 168 EVs left here into the damage calc. So let's say if you did something like this, let's go 4 here and back to 164 here. So let's see if this is enough to live the Urshifu, right? So 164 investment with 4 defense. Okay, so now I managed to reduce the roll against the Wicked Blow, right? Because again, this is now a 50% chance to KO. That's not too bad, but the 50%, it's still, you know, not good enough, right? So now how can I mess around with this where I can get this down to a 99 or at least a 6.3% chance roll? So I'm just going to keep dropping the EVs like this, right? Until I get the calc that I want, right? Because you can see now that the damage is starting to go down from the Wicked Blow. And this is how you re-optimize your bulk here, because you're getting more value out of physical defense against this Urshifu here. So we're getting close, right? So now it's down to 25. And now it should be getting down to about 12 point. Yeah, see, look, now it's down to 18.8. And this is all it really takes, right? You know, this is how people just camp out in the calculator until they get the calc that they need. So now we have 36. And I have the 6.3 finally, right? So I'm just going to settle with this, right? So I'm going to go here. Let's go to 36 investment, right? And then just dump the rest here, right? 36, 132, which is exactly what we have. And that's good enough in all honesty, right? So now I have pretty good, like if you just look at its stats, you know, your SPDEF is higher than your defense already. So a little bit of HP, but again, you have the calc that you need. You have the speed tier that you need. And you can kind of see that the physical bulk is already almost the same as your special defense there. So you're getting the best value with this kind of investment in terms of surviving a Wicked Blow from a Jolly Urshifu, right? So then what else can you do? So you can also do something like this with the leftovers calm mindset. So I'm going to be going for even numbers here in particular, but you know, with something like this, you know, typically calm mind sets, they're going to have something like, you know, Incineroar, Rillaboom, okay? And either something like Amoongus or they can have something like an Ogerpon Heartflame, for example, right? So, you know, double redirection, double fake out and redirection, right? And they're not gonna really have too much speed control on their team. So it's just better to, you know, remove the speed and just focus on your bulk. So we're just gonna put like 2 points in our speed investment, and that's really all there is. And then in terms of our attack, we're not gonna go max like this because we have opportunities to raise up our you know, special attack. What we really need is a little bit more bulk because it's going to take a turn or two to set up this Calm Mindset here. So what we can do is still go to about 100, which will be the second bump here. But, you know, I want the even number. So I'm going to go to 188, right? Which is, in this sense, 108 investment, right? So this is good enough because after one Calm Mind, this is already higher than a max attack Lunala, you know, Sans Meteor Beam stuff, right? So after this, then I have 388 EVs left here. So where can I take this? So I still have leftovers here, which means I want to optimize my HP with a factor of 16. So this way I get solid whole number recovery. And I have two options. I can go to 224 like this. You know, this is a factor of 16, or I can go another 16 and go to 240, okay? And then stop right here. And now I have 168 EVs left, right? So I can do this, but now where do I take these 168 EVs, okay? So now what I can do is maybe I want to survive the Astral Barrage from a Shadow Rider. So I can do that. So let's go to 220 investments here, okay? This defense is not going to matter, but I'm going to go to the Calyrex Shadow Rider, of course. Let's go with the Sash set, of course. You know, Timid, Astral Barrage. Okay, that does a lot. So now we already technically have the calc, but a lot of these guys, they have a life orb here, okay? So they'll, let's just say 252 Timid life orb, right? That kind of kills. So now what we can do is we can start investing our Spadef here, right? So what if we just do this? And now you can see we're getting really close in terms of surviving, and we have it now with 116 Spadef here. So now I'm just gonna go here. Let's go to 116 investments. I have the calc, and now this 52 EVs, this is just left over. Let's just dump it into physical defense, and that's really it, right? And now look at this. I have the even number for Spadef. I have the even number for special attack, which is good because I have a Calm Mind here. And now, again, I have optimized HPs for leftovers, and now the rest just goes into my defense, right? So if you want to use a Calm Mind Lunala set, you can definitely borrow this one right here, okay? Now from here, now, in this case, I have Wide Guard here. So this Lunala is meant to be supportive, yet trying to deal damage, right? It can't really do both that well, but it can try, okay? So I'm going to have even less attack on this, right? And I'm just going to put, you know, to the first bump here, right? Because I'm going to be spending most of my time, you know, either trying to set up Trick Room or using Wide Guard to try and support my team here, right? With the occasional Moongeist Beams, right? You'll click Meteor Beam once, but then after that, you're just clicking Moongeist Beams, you know, just to try and make trades and, you know, exchange blows with the opponent, try and pick up some key KOs there. But otherwise, you know, pinning against the Calyrexes, the Kyogres, you know, all these things trying to go for their spread moves, you know, you can have access to Wide Guard here, right? So after that, what can I do with something like this? Then same thing, you know, you just want a little bit of speed investment, probably not that much. Again, you're just trying to set up Trick Room and be supportive. And you can technically go for both now. You can go for, you know, calcing for the Wicked Blow and the Astral Barrage. How can you do that? Okay, because again, look at this. I don't have that much special attack now, which means I have more EVs left to play with. And that means I can invest more into my investment, right? So look at this. So I already know that 222 and 116 will survive the Calyrex, right? Now, does this help me against the Urshifu? So now what we can do is we can plug this in. So let's go with that. So 220, right? And now we go to 140. All right, we have the Calyrex. Let's go to Urshifu here. All right, does this live the Jolly Wicked Blow, right? So there's the dark one. That's Adamant here. So actually, in reality, we actually live the Adamant one now, right? So Adamant Urshifu, right? Wicked Blow, we live, okay? Which is even better, okay? Because that means this investment is all that much worth it. So I live the Wicked Blow Adamant, and I live the Astral Barrage Life Orb stuff, which is a really cool idea when you think about it. So like, again, you're sacrificing your damage here, right? But you can still get a little bit back, you know, with Meteor Beam. And then at the same time, you know, you can still get stuff like Helping Hand, and you have other members on your team. But at the very least, you're going to stay on the field for a while, okay? And you're going to take advantage of all your bulk here. So I'm just giving you like three ideas here for your sets. Technically 4. I showed you one before this one in terms of Eevee. So, you know, give or take, pick one that you like, and then you can play your own Lunala, okay? But now what I want to do is just go back into the team building part, and let's understand the thought process as far as like building the whole squad here. And then we'll probably use some of these spreads that we just made for you. Okay, so let's go back. All right, so back to the main section here. So basically now with Lunala, I put Expanding Force on Lunala over here, which means, yes, we're going to do this first build with Indeedee. I think it's just a very easy way to start in terms of your building, and then just add another Tailwind user. You have the option to add either Whimsicott or something like Tornadus, okay? And this is already like a good starting point here. Now you have to also remember that Lunala is going to have some issues trying to hit normal types, something like a Terapagos, or even something like a Ferga for that matter. So if you want something against like a Pagos, you still need a fighting type here, which is kind of the same idea with Calyrex Shadow Rider. You know, you still want a fighting type because again, you're going to struggle not only against the normal types, but also against dark types in general. So something like an Urshifu is just another easy choice here. Whether you go, you know, the water route or the physical route, the dark route is up to you depending on your matchup here. We're gonna go the dark one just so that it gives us a little bit better of a Shadow Rider matchup. But you pick one of these Tailwind users here, and just for the sake of argument, we can just go with Whimsicott here, for example, right? And this is like the core of a lot of Calyrex Shadow Rider teams right now. You know, they have the Shadow Rider Indeedee, Tailwind user plus an Urshifu. This is the core of their team, okay? So when I said we're working a little bit harder, we are, but again, it still works, okay? And we still have a spread move, right? And in this case, it's Expanding Force. Technically, Shadow Rider can do that too, but at least we get Meteor Beam, right? So there. After this, you know, what can you do here? So you can, you know, play a little bit more with the Trick Room mode here, and this is where something like Ursaluna also makes sense, because again, you have the special end covered more or less, but now you also have, you still need something on the physical side where you can at least click Earthquake and Facade in Trick Room here. This is also where something like, you know, Wide Guard comes in handy, because you can Earthquake next to your own Lunala for that matter, right? And we can show you that kind of build later, but this is just like our first variant of a Lunala squad here. But ideally after this, you can take the squad a different direction, but you can make it easy for yourself and just say, you know what, I want Torkoal here just for a little bit of weather control. And the Torkoal is secretly more or less you're restricted here because you have eruption pressure, right? So this is going to be good for something like Ogre, where you can take away their rain, and then at the same time you can pressure the Ogre a little bit with something like Urshifu and or your own Lunala here, right? So, you know, the Torkoal can do that for you. And then same thing here with the Ursaluna. So you have like eruption plays, you have Facade and Earthquake plays here in Trick Room, and you still have a fast mode here with like Tailwind, and then just going with the Urshifu here, and then Expanding Force for that matter. So this still can work here. So this is like an easy build that you can do with Lunala. And at least from here, you know, with these 4, it may have been the same as like Shadow Rider builds, but this is where you can mix it up a little bit and add these 2 options because you're taking more control with the Trick Room idea here, right? So let's just build this real quick. So, you know, something like Grass Terror is also really good, you know, just because again, in Trick Room, you get around Amoongus, you can get around Rage Powder stuff. So you can do something like that, and this will also help into Kyogre a little bit. Otherwise, you can also go technically Terra Fairy, which will reduce the dark damage you might take, because again, you can resist it, and it neutralizes the ghost weakness there. So I think those are like 2 of your better Terras. But after this, you know, you're Indeedee, you have the option for Psychic Seeds or Rocky Helmet, you know, depending on you as a player. I'm just going to put Rocky Helmet here just because. And then you can just do like Follow Me, Helping Hand, and Trick Room. And now after this, you have the option for something like, you know, Terra Fairy, and then just Alluring Voice, which is kind of funny. Alluring Voice is picking up in usage just because, again, think about it. 100% confusion rate that had a stat rise this turn. So if something wants to, like, you know, set up Calm Minds, or set up Swords Dance, or set up Nasty Plots, or you know, maybe they pick up a KO with Astral Barrage or Glacial Lance, and then you can just, you know, click the Alluring Voice, and then you're just confusing them, right? So you can kind of pin that slot and just go with something like this. Otherwise, you can just go something like Terra Water, and then just go with Psychic, just for a little bit of boosted damage in the terrain, right? So up to you how you want to play the Indeedee. It just depends on you as a player, but you have either of those options to start with, right? Then the Whimsicott, again, we can just go with Covert Cloak. You can go Terra Normal here, you know, just for the Shadow Rider matchup, right? And you have Tailwind, Moonblast, You can also go with Light Screen and Encore. Okay, so again, the Light Screen again is going to help you against the Shadow Rider too, which means you can get a little bit more physical defense bulk here, and then you get the best of both worlds there in that sense. But Encore is pretty good. You can shut a lot of things down, especially if they want to go for like setup plays, or if they want to just keep clicking Protect, or what I meant to say is if they click Protect, you can Encore that. Again, just be careful of your own Indeedee here in this sense, right? The Urshifu, we can just sash this thing. All right, Wicked Blow, Close Combat, then Protect here. And now this last move here, it can really just depend on you. I definitely think we still go Terra Stellar here for a little bit more boosted damage. You can go with something like U-Turn to pivot out. I've seen that. Or you can also just go with straight Taunt here, and then just shut things down. Sometimes if you have a Chiyu, then the Chiyu will go for something like Taunt and those Covert Cloak sets. But, Taunt Urshifu is pretty good, right? It's hard to put Sucker Punch here sometimes just because, you do have the Indeedee here. Sometimes you could just do like Indeedee Urshifu leads and then just keep clicking Follow Me, Wicked Blow stuff and, trade and then let Lunala plus like one of these guys to clean up in the endgame in Trick Room. You could do that. But otherwise, Taunt is also pretty cool too, okay? And then after this, you can just do standard stuff with the Ursaluna, right? So you could just do like Flame Orb. All right, then you have Facade, you have your Earthquake, you have your Headlong Rush, and then you have your Protect here. Now, I will also present the option of going with Substitute here. You can definitely do something like that because the turn that you think they think you're gonna protect, you can click Substitute, and then you're kind of just chilling from there. So if you want to go that route, you can. I'm still gonna go Terra Fairy here. I like this. It neutralizes your water/grass weakness, and then you get to resist the fighting weakness at the same time too, right? So I do like Fairy on the Ursaluna. Otherwise, Normal's pretty good. Ghost is pretty good too. Whichever one you may prefer. But I don't want to do Ghost here, and then this is a Ghost type. I think that's too much Shadow Rider weakness, so I think Fairy's just a little bit better on this particular team here. The Torkoal, we just go ham here. You can go Charcoal, or you can just go Violence and go with Specs. And then just go with Eruption, Weather Ball plays is also pretty good. Clear Smog, and then Earth Power, right? You can also maybe go with the Grass move and like Solar Beam here. You can definitely do that. But otherwise, Eruption and Weather Ball are pretty good. Spread move, single target damage. Clear Smog is more like for Dondozo stuff. And then Earth Power is just like, a ground move, something as a filler slot in there, right? But, this is a pretty easy build, right? You can see where we're going with this. You have the Hyper Offensive mode, and then you have the Trick Room mode here with these guys. So up to you how you want to play the team, but I gave you some options here, but this is just like our first build. Now, in terms of an EV set, we'll go with the one that we made already. We can just go about 92 investments here. We can go 244 here, and then we can go something like this here. Again, we just had 36, and then the 132 investment here, right? This is the one that we made. You can start with something like this. Then the Indeedee. I just like going Relaxed Nature with 0 speed, so this way we get the edge over the Rillabooms. They always have speed, so this way you win in that sense. You can just do something like this, right? Optimize your HP here for the Rillaboom, right? They always want to switch it in. 176 gives you optimal grassy terrain recovery, max the defense, put the leftovers here in Spadef. Whimsicott here. I just like doing this with Whimsicott here, so I'm going to go Timid, but I'm only going to go about 140 investments. This is all I need. This is going to outspeed the Lando. At least I outspeed Chiyu. This is all I really need out of this. And then after that, just max the HP on your Whimsicott. Anytime you go with like Covert Cloak, you want to have, a lot of HP here just so that you're bulky here. 1 point in special attack. And after this, I don't really have anything to calc for. And when that happens, you can just split it up in terms of what you have here. So you can just do something like this and then just call it. Otherwise, if there is a specific damage calc you have, you can definitely go for that investment. But I have my speed here and I have my HP that I want. After that, you can just split it up for now. But this is just to get something rolling on the ladder. And then when you find the calc that you want after like a couple games or so, then you can adjust this, right? But at least this is a decent starting point for our Whimsicott here. This, you could just go Adamant 252, right? And, just be done with it. 176 investments. Again, just like the Indeedee here, optimal for grassy terrain recovery. So you always put that there and not here. Right, in this case, just because for the Rillaboom scenario. The Ursaluna, I like to keep it simple here. I'm just gonna go I'm gonna go Brave actually, not Adamant. I'm gonna go Brave, 0 speed. Okay, I'm gonna optimize my HP for the Flame Orb chip. I'm gonna put it at 140, 223 investment, undercuts the Flame Orb chip. Again, you know, it's just basically the opposite of the Rillaboom Grassy Terrain. It's the 16N-1 rule, right? Instead of 224, you want to just go to 223. And the same thing applies over here where, you know, instead of 208, you can go 207, right? But I still want some HP on this, right? So anyway, this will round it down to about 13 chip instead of 14, right? And then you just go 236 investment. You go to the bump, right? Here's the third bump, right? And then after that, you can just dump the rest in SPDF because that is the lower of your bulk. And again, if you're trying to get better at, you know, creating EVs for Pokemon for competitive play, you have to know what EV bumps are, right? So if you don't know what EV bumps are, comment below in the video asking what are EV bumps. I will respond to you. I will reply to you. I have a whole video on this, which is also linked in our video description below. So give that a watch, and I go through a few examples of, you know, showing you what these bumps are and how to get to them. But this is the third one, right? I'll just show you the first one, I guess. But again, it's every 80 EVs between each bump, right? So here's the first one, 187. So after this, 76 plus 80 EV is 156. So there's the second one here. It goes up by 2 points instead of 1. Add another 80 EVs, 236 is the play because 156 plus 80 is 236 investment. You see how you go from 207 to 209 attack. There is the bump there that we've been talking about here. And then, like I said, just dumping the rest into SPDF because that's all there is left over. All right, this guy is going to be the easiest one. Obviously, you know, you just want to click Eruption, click buttons, you know, go Quiet Nature. And then after that, just dumping the rest here into HP here. And then just dumping the rest here into Special Defense. And that's really all you want your Torkoal to do. Click Eruption, watch things melt, and that's it. All right, so this is our first build with our Lunala squad. Again, you know, what the game plan is clear, okay? You want to utilize your terrain, which again can be good against Rillaboom and Miraidon stuff. You want to set up Trick Room. You want the Indeedee to die, so this way you can click Eruption from Torkoal or get in the Ursaluna and then start melting things, right? Or you can go the aggressive route and just go with like Whimsicott and, you know, something like Urshifu, and then in the end bring in Lunala / Indeedee, you know, and just click Expanding Force. Or you can do that already with Lunala and Indeedee. You know, follow me, Expanding Force. You know, they get rid of the Indeedee, bring in the Whimsicott, click Tailwind, Expanding Force. For that matter, the options are there, right? So it just depends on the matchup and how you want to play certain things. But I'm just giving you examples of a couple of leagues that you can do, okay? So you just have to look, do I have my matchups for the popular restricteds, okay? Do I have my Shadow Rider matchup? I do. Technically, your own Lunala can do that for you. You know, whether it's either Trick Room or Tailwind. You have your Urshifu here, so that's good. Do you have your Ice Rider matchup? You do. The Urshifu and Lunala, again, can do that. Same thing with the Torkoal, right? Torkoal underspeeds the Shadow Rider, the Ice Rider in Trick Room. You force the Terra, and if it's not fire, then it melts, okay? Otherwise, you know, if it is something like Terra or Poison, it will take neutral, but it's not going to like it. So you have that for you. And then at the same time, do you have something like for Miraidon? You do. You have your own Ursaluna, you have Indeedee, and your Lunala. Ursaluna is pretty good against the Iron Hands, right? You have that matchup. And if they're not brave, then you could just click, you know, your ground moves. So that's also pretty good for you in that sense. And then your Ogre matchup, you know, you do have Torkoal, but at the same time, you know, you have to be aware of it. So this is where something like Encore or Lights, not Encore, the Light Screen is going to help you too. So against like special attacking restricteds like Kyogre or like Calyrex Shadow Rider or Miraidon, Light Screen is going to be huge in surviving things. So just keep that in mind there. And if you're looking at like stuff like, you know, Koraidon things, you know, you just melt that with Expanding Force, of course. And then the Zamazenta stuff, same thing, right? You've got a Torkoal that can melt it. And if it goes Terra Dragon, then, you know, then it's just neutral to everything else that you got over here, right? So, yeah, again, you've got your matchups. It's just all about positioning and knowing what pieces to bring in certain games here. So let's take a look at this in some test games just to see how the team can perform. All right, so first up, we have some weird Groudon Sun team here with like Tornadus, Venusaur, Zard. Then he has a mix here with Indeedee and Gouging Fire. He has some pieces that are like a little bit all over the place, but he does have a Sun mode. Okay, I don't think you need Zard and Venusaur. Okay, I think just Venusaur is going to be enough. I don't even think you need Tornadus technically. But there it is. So I think our game plan is easy. You know, we can just do like Indeedee, Lunala stuff. Torkoal in the back looks really good. Like the Torkoal Eruption eats everything here except for maybe the Gouging Fire. but this is why you have 3 other slots here, right? But again, I do think Lunala Indeedee is just the way to go. We have Meteor Beam for the Zard and the Tornadus if we have to do that. And then Expanding Force just kind of runs through everything here, not named Indeedee. So we can go with that route. So he decides to go with like Tornadus and their Groudon here, which is fine, right? So we have Indeedee. We can protect it. The Groudon's forced to just click Precipice Blades. Otherwise, you know, a single target is just not going to be enough there. There's the Air Slash. Okay, we outspeed the Dawn here, right? So I do take note of that. We're faster than the Dawn outside of Trick Room, but I'm not really worried about that because he still has other fast options besides that on the team, like the Zard here, right? So even though the Dawn does outspeed us, okay, the Zard does protect, and I can eat the P-Blaze, but this is good. This is what I want. I want the Indeedee to go down here because you know who comes in now in Trick Room, right? You already know it's going to be the Torkoal. The Torkoal is just going to eat everything up here, right? Eruption, goodbye. It's Dawn. That never really got to do all that much damage, and then we outspeed the Zard in Trick Room Expanding Force, right? So then he just has 1 mon left. It's pretty much over. It's just a Venusaur here, right? He does protect. He stalls out 1 turn, but again, we still have 1 more turn of Trick Room left, and we still have 1 more option in the back, okay? And this is pretty much over, right? He can go Terra, whatever, which he does go with the water. He's like, this does so much still in the sun, like a single target eruption, and then Expanding Force just kind of cleans up there, right? So that's how it's supposed to go. You know, Indeedee goes down, Torkoal comes in, you combo this with Lunala, and then you just melt things with Expanding Force / Eruption. Alright, so this is pretty much against every single Miraidon team ever, right? With Fergaf, Hands, and the Miraidon here. So this is where Indeedee is going to be important. Again, just overriding terrain from Miraidon. Your Ursaluna is also going to be key here against both the Miraidon and the Iron Hands. You're pretty much just forcing him to commit a Terra to like one of those. And then after that, you know, pick and choose. But something like Urshifu could look really good in the end game, right? So either way, I still want my terrain user and I want my electric immunity to come in along with my restricted. You got to have at least those 3, right? So that's what we're going to do. So he's going to go with Hands and he's going to go with the Urshifu. So that tells me Miraidon's in the back. Okay, but we have Indeedee Lunala here. Expanding Force looks great here if we decide to do it. There's the close combat. I could have even just clicked Helping Hand and clicked Expanding Force, right? But I decided to do this. Like I thought like Helping Hand would have been too easy of a play to do, but he was giving it to me, so I was a little shocked there, right? Helping Hand, Expanding Force was just wiped everything here. So now he goes into Miraidon. Here's Ursaluna. One of these things has to Terra. Okay, it could be the Miraidon or the Iron Hands. You know, I still want to go Grass Terra just to not take so much damage. Right, he goes for the Volt Switch. He wants, I don't know why he clicked that, but I guess he's scared of the Ursaluna here. But, you know, Expanding Force just to get rid of the Hands just looks really good there, right? So now, Facade, a little bit of chip, not going to do a whole lot here. So now what we could do is start pinning, right? Because the Miraidon can't Terra anymore, right? Because he committed the Terra on the Hands. Why he did that, I have no idea. This never kills, right? Because now he doesn't have the Terry Farah. I went there, you know, and I just wanted to be safe with the Trick Room here. Right, because now it's just over, right? So now we can just click, you know, whatever ground move we want. Headlong Rush is just always safe. There was no Terra coming out. He committed that to the Hands, and then we just do this on the Fergraph, and then that was just pretty much it here, right? So again, Indeedee, Ursaluna, Lunala look really good here. And then your back end just depends on the matchup, but I went with Urshifu in the back just in case. All right, the CSR matchup. So this kind of team is everywhere. You've got Tornadus, Calyrex, and then the Fake Out Bros with Urshifu, and then this is something like either Raging Bolt or an Ogerpon here. In this case, we have the Ogerpon. So, you know, your Tailwind and your Trick Room is going to be important here, believe it or not. So something like Indeedee and Lunala definitely come. I also think the Urshifu comes, right? And then the Whimsicott can help you in the end game or even early game outspeed things, right? So I think it's just safe to just keep the Indeedee in the back to override Rillaboom terrain if they even do go for it. So let's just see how he leads. It could be Instant Calyrex. He actually just goes Tornadus, Urshifu here, right? So I could have easily let Indeedee here, you know, just make him take Rocky Helmet Chip, for example, but he went with Taunt here. But funny enough, I wasn't even going for Taunt. This lead can't hurt Lunala, so I was just going for raw offense here. I just wanted to take the Tornadus off the board here and just Moonblast the Ursh, right? But he chickens out, he goes for U-Turn. U-Turn is probably better than something like Taunt in this case, but you know, you never know. I gave you the option to go for U-Turn / Taunt. But again, the Tornadus was Sash, so that means the Calyrex is not Sash, so that's good to know. He goes for Bleak Wind here. The Ogerpon does not kill. Okay, he could have technically killed the Lunala, right? He could have Terra'd and then just gave me a nightmare, but he chose not to Terra, right? So he's going with the Calyrex here. He's going with the Ursh, right? His decision not to Terra costs him here, right? So I'm just going to go in my Ursh here, right? And I did click Trick Room, okay? But the Calyrex did not go for Astral Barrage. So good on the Calyrex there not to do that, because he went for his other move. He actually also has Expanding Force. He has Expanding Force, but no Psychic Terrain. I guess he was counting on me having that. So that was kind of crazy because he has no Psychic Terrain. But I saved the Whimsicott for this exact case. He Terra the Ursh, which means no Terra on the Calyrex, no Sash there. It was on the Tornadus there, which means we're free to do whatever we want now, right? Because the Urshifu is all that's left, and he doesn't even kill me. He has no choice but to forfeit because I preserved my win cons. Okay, so for this second variant, it's almost going to be very similar to the first one. The only thing I'm going to change is these last 2 slots here. So if you don't want to fully commit to like the Trick Room mode and you want to play a little bit faster, so we can keep the Ursaluna. I think Ursaluna is still like relatively strong, and we can switch out the Urshifu in this case. So we can go take out the Torkoal, right? Which means we can go with the other Urshifu. We can go the Rapid Strike one now, and we can switch out the Single Strike one, and we can commit a little bit faster and go with the Chiyu here, right? And this almost looks like another Calyrex Shadow Rider team just with Lunala here, because Shadow Rider loves Indeedee, loves Whimsicott, loves the Ursh, loves the Chiyu, right? The only difference is, of course, this Ursaluna over here, right? But this is another way that you can play it. You can go with the Choice Scarf here, okay? And again, this is, you could just even do something like Grass Terra here. You're not really afraid of like, you know, fake out stuff because, yeah. Anyway, Heat Wave, Overheat, Snarl, and then something like Dark Pulse, right? You can even consider like Terra Blast, Terra Grass, but I think this is always like pretty good. And then just Modest Nature, okay? And then after this, the Urshifu Rapid Strike here, again, with the Focus Sash, okay? And I still like technically Taunt here, Surging Strikes, Close Combat, Protect. Again, up to you, but again, I'm gonna go with the Stellar Terra here, you know, and then just go like Adamant, okay? And then again, like I said, this last move, you saw it in the other game. You could either go like U-turn, or you can go with something like Taunt. I still like Taunt. At the end of the day, you can even just go with Aqua Jet here if you really want to. But I've been testing all of it, and I found a little bit more value out of Taunt, just to be able to shut down, you know, protects and whatnot. So I do like that. And then technically, you could even do like Covert Cloak, and then just go with something like Taunt on the Chiyu over here. You can definitely explore that option. But otherwise, you can definitely just do like the Sash Urshifu over here, right? Otherwise, you could put Sash here and then, you know, Sash this or Scarf this, and then just, you know, go Cloak here. Like, you have a lot of options in terms of your item, but this is the other variant, right? So this is the more aggressive Chiyu variant, right? And then even, like I said here, this could even be like a Tornadus with Rain Dance. If you want to make the Urshifu do a little bit more damage, you have that option for you. But again, I'm going to keep everything else more or less the same. I still like Water Terra here. You can even go like Terra Fairy. I've been working with both. It just depends on the player, but this will be option number 2 here. So now we have Scarf Chiyu. So now we don't necessarily need Tailwind. We can always pin that Shadow Rider slot. And then we get the Surging Strikes Urshifu, which can do relatively well against like Incense and whatnot, and even like another Chiyu for that matter. So, you know, and then at the same time, our Chiyu just lets our Lunala do a little bit more damage, right? So all in all, good combinations. It's almost similar to the first one, but let's see how this one plays. Oh my god, it's the legendary Cancer's team of 2024. This is the Dugong Armor stuff with the Gloom shenanigans. If you want the pace for this team, you know, comment below and I can give you this, but this is a public team. This was used last year and it went viral, okay, because of the nonsense with like the Endure weakness policy stuff. This Dugong has Aqua Jet and Horn Drill shenanigans, and I kind of knew that already, so I was like, you know what, I just got to bring Indeedee and then we're just kind of fine from there. So this is how we played it, right? So I'm going to go Indeedee and I'm going to go Urshifu here because I know exactly what he wants to do. There's the Armor Rouge and there's the Dugong. He's not getting off this redirection stuff, right? So it's easy. Just click Aqua Jet. Yeah, exactly. He can't even do that in terrain anyway, right? We just punched the Armor Rouge here, right? I know he has this weak armor stuff, but again, he didn't even tear or anything like that. We just punched through the Armor Rouge and that was it. Technically, we didn't even need to click Follow Me because he was never getting off that Aqua Jet necessarily, but I went now into Chiyu here. We're kind of fine. I'm going to click Follow Me again. He clicks Draining Kiss there, okay? But there's the Horn Drill. He actually gets rid of the Indeedee, funny enough. All right, there's the Rocky Helmet shit, okay? And now here comes Lunala here. We're okay. There's the Snarl damage, okay? And you know what else comes next. Okay, it is in fact this expanding force, and down goes the Gugong there, right? It's just so funny, right? And then here comes Lunala himself, but of course we have the Snarl, we have the Scarf Pressure there. The Lunala can't do anything. He's actually faster than me, which is kind of funny. All right, he gets rid of the Chiyu, but in the end, look, we just click Moongeist Beam and our Lunala is better there. So, I'm surprised people are still using this team even now in 2025 there, but of course, because we knew the sets here, we knew exactly what we wanted by just bringing our own Indeedee here. Another boring CSR team here. This one has no Tornadus. This one is just straight, double fake out boys. Farigiraf here for, the priority stuff. And then there's his Raging Bolt. Then there's another Urshifu here. So, looks like he wants to try and set up the CSR, but I feel like you need an Ogerpon here. But anyway, this is where like Chiyu looks really good here, because if he does lead the Calyrex, we always have the pin and we can always force the Terra, right? So if he does bring the Rillaboom, great, but we have the Indeedee in the end game if we have to use it, right? So let's see how he leads. I'm going to go with Lunala and the Chiyu here. This is the main difference with this team versus the team in the first time, right? And now he goes Instant Calyrex. They always love to lead Instant Calyrex. Okay, this is fine because if he wants to fake out the Chiyu, we click Meteor Beam, and if he doesn't do anything with the Calyrex, then Snarl just gets him. So he protects Calyrex. Smart play there. Because he probably figures I'm Scarfed, but again, our Lunala is faster. We get rid of the Instant, Meteor Beam just KOs there, and now we're kind of just chilling, right? Because now we have the +1, and now what we can do is just, Terra their Lunala. We kind of live anyway, but there's the Thunderclap there. The Snarl just gets the Calyrex. He doesn't even Terra, right? I think that's a mistake, right? But either way, the Moongeist Beam was always just going to pick up that that Calyrex anyway, but because he didn't Terra, we just removed it anyway. And now we're fine because now we can just go into Indeedee. This game is already over. +1 expanding force, right, in terrain. I'm surprised this actually KO'd there, but, single target, at the end of the day, I guess I'm not really surprised. All right, this is about the weirdest Zacian team I've ever seen. He's got like Moltres there. He's got the Goodra. We're playing regulationG, I guess, with the Hisuian Decidueye. He's got a Ninetales. This team, I don't know what it is, but he's been doing well with it. This is not something that's like a fresh off the ladder. 100% the Moltres comes, okay? And to be ready for that, this is where something like Whimsicott looks really good here, especially, with Chiyu later in the game, just to have something for the Zacian, a strong fire type. Like, the Chiyu looks really good here in the end game. So I'm going to preserve it. Of course, I'm going to have Lunala, but let me do some early damage with Whimsicott Ursh. He does bring the Moltres as we thought, and there is the Decidueye here. So I outspeed everything. So the only thing I debated here is if I needed to Terra the Urshifu here. And I probably should have because, the Terra Surging Strikes was definitely going to pick up the Moltres here. It actually lives, and he actually just goes Berserk. But he does just go with Tailwind here. Leaf Blade, doesn't even get me down to Sash. Right? He doesn't even switch out the Moltres. I wanted to just at least go for my own Tailwind first. There's the Fiery Wrath, which is okay. My Whimsicott resists. He went for the triple arrows, which is okay. So now I just want to do some damage into the Decidueye here, and then just remove the Moltres this way. And again, it's also like fine here. I could have even switched out and just went with something else. I could have even brought in the Lunala there, but it was okay, right? So now his Tailwind is gone. We have more Tailwind. Well, actually he has one more. I'm going to get Lunala in. He protects with the Goodra, but that doesn't do anything because the Chiyu is just more aggressive here. And now he just has only the Zacian left. So he's got two steel types in front of a fire type here. And here's the position I want. Lunala and Chiyu here. He protects everything just to stall out my last turn of Tailwind. This is fine because he can only Terra one of these things. So I'm always just going to pin the Zacian here, right? I feel like he does Terra this thing, but even if he doesn't, it just dies. All right, so he doesn't even Terra the Zacian, so it just melts the Heat Wave. So I don't even know what was the point. And then just Moongeist Beam over here, right? He has Knockoff. Could have clicked that, but didn't have the control there. And of course, we're bulky. We live everything. And then now he just dies to Heat Wave because that was his only Terra there. So again, Lunala, Chiyu looking really good on this build. All right, so for the third variant, we're going to go a little bit in terms of a different direction. We're going to go with the other Lunala build where we're going to take away most of our attack and we're just going to go full on bulk here because this is going to be like wide guard support along with the Ursaluna idea here. We're still going to keep the Urshifu here and we're not going to go Indeedee. So now I can technically go back to Aqua Jet here and then we'll keep the Ursaluna relatively the same here, right? And again, you can still also go with Terra Fairy here and it's still like kind of fine here. So after this, where do I want to take the team here? So I still like with this, if I want to go like a little bit more balance space, I can still go with good old instant Amoongus, right? Your defensive backbone here. And then this can be like safety goggles, you know, and you can even go like Rocky Helmet instant, but the Rocky Helmet is still going to be on the Amoongus here. So I'm going to go this direction. And then now for this last slot here, I still kind of want Tailwind support here, but it's going to come from a little bit more of an unlikely source. It's going to come from Roaring Moon here, and this still works. We've seen Roaring Moon be splashable on a lot of different restricted pairings, and we have even seen it with the CSR, and it makes sense. And you know, again, if you're weak to like fighting moves here, you can always switch in your ghost type and, you know, it gets whiffed anyway. And then at the same time, you know, the dragon typing is really good against like pretty much the fire, water, grass cores here. And then you always have, you know, acrobatics and knockoff here. And, you know, you just have a little bit more tools now with the Roaring Moon here, right? And, you know, with booster energy, you outspeed the Shadow Rider anyway as well, just like the Chiyu. So this is just another way that you can consider this. And there's some synergy here with Ursaluna as well, because you can Earthquake next to Roaring Moon if you're ever in that scenario. But other than that, it's just like a little bit more pressure as opposed to like Whimsicott or Tornadus, because the Roaring Moon can do that. Now, yes, you can get intimidated here. But again, that's okay, because you still have Meteor Beam support from your Lunala here. So we're still like, okay. Okay, so this is still going to be like acrobatics. This is still going to be tailwind. This is still going to be knockoff and protect. And I'm just going to use the most basic Roaring Moon spread that you can think of. You can go a little bit more bulkier if you want. There are builds for that, but I'm just going to go simple Jolly 252, but 220 attack. And the reasoning for that is, again, one off the speed here. So I'm still always getting the Jolly boost. And then after that, just the remaining in HP. There's better... in my opinion, there's probably like better bulkier builds than this, but this is always like easy and classic to start things off on ladder. And then from there, you can work your way around and, you know, readjust the spread as you need to. But I like Jolly 252. That's just me. The Amoongus here, again, you can just do like Terra Water stuff or Terra Fairy, Rage Powder, Spore, Pollen Puff, and then Protect here. Now, if you're running into like the Dondozo stuff here, you can always just go Clear Smog and remove those buffs. Otherwise, Protect is still like pretty good on Amoongus. And then the Insyn, you know, with just the Ghost Terra. And then just for Surging Strikes purposes, you can just do like Fake Out. You can still do, of course, Knockoff, Parting Shot, and then Will-O-Wisp. Okay, really good at burning physical attackers like a Calyrex Ice Rider. Impish, still like the way to go here. And for that calc, I just go like 252, 188 defense. This is the safe bet here for the Surging Strikes. And then 1 point in speed. And then the remainder, we can just go into Spadef like this. You know, those are just like kind of leftovers. But this is always like a classic instant spread to use right now. And that's pretty much it. This Amoongus, I still go 236, 236. Relaxed nature. Okay. You can go 116 Spadef just for a little bit better roll for the Psychic or the Psyshock CSR. But I still go this route just for the Chien-Pao / Glacial Land stuff. And then, you know, we're just kind of chilling. We don't have to necessarily Terra, right? But this Lunala set is different. This will stay the same, right? This Urshifu, we get Aqua Jet back. We have Instant, Amoongus, and Roaring Moon now. So now this looks like a very different Lunala kind of team. Okay, so we can go with this variant. So let's test this out and let's see how this one does. Alright, so this one is an Ice Rider matchup here, and his build actually looks kind of like ours. We have about 4 of the same mons, except he's got a Sinisha and he's got a different restricted, but he has a similar idea to what we're trying to do here. But believe it or not, I do like Roaring Moon here just because we have attacks into everything that he's got, and with the support of Wide Guard, the Calyrex can't really break through, okay? And that's the key here. And we do have Incineroar later because Incin looks great, especially if we can knock off the amulet off of the Ice Rider. Then we can just pivot and click Intimidate and just click Will-O-Wisp for days here, right? So I like what we have here. Okay, so let's see how he decides to do this. He's going to go with Calyrex and Sinisha as a lead. Interesting left. So, by the way, he has Sinisha and Amoongus. I think that's a little bit of a waste, especially if you just lead the Sinisha like this. So, you're not getting full value out of that Sinisha here, right? So, he goes Terra Fairy Calyrex. Good Terra on that. But, again, the whole point is to click Wide Guard and click Knockoff here. So, this way Instant can come in the game and later do the job. So, there's the Amulet. He didn't even go for Trick Room. He just got greedy and clicked Glacial Lance there. Which is good news for us, right? So now we can go Instant here. I can Intimidate this guy. I click Moongeist Beam. The Sinisha goes Splat. Okay, so that's out of the way. He doesn't get any value out of that. He clicks Trick Room, which is fine. He doesn't even bring Amoongus. He brings the Roaring Moon there. So we can just fake out the Calyrex, all right, and go for a Meteor Beam right now into the Roaring Moon because I know I outspeed. Okay, and he didn't even protect, by the way, right? So there's the knockoff there, unfortunately. But this is okay because he clicks Protect now, and we can click Y-Guard again, and we just wisp the Calyrex, right? So even if he did click it again, which he did, all right, I thought he would click High Horsepower, but this is fine, right? Because now the Roaring Moon is still under pressure. He has no choice but to go into the Ursh, right? But there's the Protect. This is fine because now I was trying to Parting Shot out, but now we can just clean up the Urshifu there. There is no Sash there, by the way. So that was interesting. So I don't know what item that was, but the fact that there's no Sash made things very interesting. So now he just protects on Roaring Moon again. We Parting Shot. This Calyrex is burned and at -2. We bring in our own Ursaluna. There's the High Horsepower, but of course does nothing. And he still keeps the Roaring Moon alive. But now things get a little bit more interesting, right? So it depends on what he wants to do. I'm going to click Y-Guard again. So he can remove the Lunala this time, but I just click Earthquake. And the whole goal was to prevent Glacial Lance from killing Ursaluna, because now the Roaring Moon is dead. This Calyrex is stuck now. He can't switch. Okay, now it's intimidated again. It's burned, right? And now we just fake out and the Ursaluna just cleans up here, right? This is what I mean. You just knock off the Calyrex and instant can do whatever it wants and bully the Ice Rider. And that's really what it came down to in this game. Another Ice Rider, but this one is a little bit different. This one has a Tornadus with some of his stuff. So it looks like he does have a fast one. You see the Torn Urshifu stuff. You also see Chien-Pao Urshifu there, and then the Ogerpon. He does have a fast mode. Same thing with the Flutter Mane here. And then all of a sudden he's got a Calyrex here. So, you know, it makes me think, is this Calyrex Jolly 112 speed to outspeed Shadow Rider under Tailwind support? I don't know. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't, but either way, I think it's just pretty safe to just go with Instant here along with our Urshifu. You know, fake out Surging Strikes is really strong. He goes with Flutter Mane and the Calyrex. He does not bring the Ogerpon here, right? So, you know, a couple of things I wanted to do. You know, I have fake out, right? I have Surging Strikes here. So he goes into Tornadus, right? He doesn't want to take that. I want a Stellar here, right? And just in case, but you know, in reality, I don't think this was that technically needed, right? So here we go, Surging Strikes. Yeah, this was not needed, especially if this Flutter Mane was sashed, right? And then he goes into Urshifu of his own. I'm gonna go into Amoongus here. This is where Amoongus has pretty good value, especially if he Surging Strikes into the Rocky Helmet, which he does. Now, he could have like Bleak Wind Stormed here. Now, this is my mistake. I went for the Tornadus instead of the Urshifu. I think in this case, I should have just removed the Urshifu because that removes the threat to Incineroar. So that was my mistake here. So he does too much damage. And yeah, because now, you know, if I go into Lunala, which is fine, right? Then I don't even lose the Urshifu in this case if I got rid of his Urshifu here, right? So this puts me in a interesting spot. I do go instant yet again, and I have to make a choice. Right, I fake out the Ursh. I probably, again, should have taken out the Ursh and just left him with Tornadus Calyrex. But, you know, this was, again, another second misplay, right? This Tornadus was nowhere near as threatening as the Urshifu there. So that's on us. So we made two mistakes, right? But now here comes the Calyrex. Calyrex Ursh is way more threatening than Tornadus Calyrex, especially at that health, right? Because now, look at this. You know, we do lose this instant bear because, again, he is the adamant variant, right? So now we just click Moongeist Beam. We do clean up the Urshifu here, and I'm fortunate enough to live this Glacial Lance, but that's because we have a lot of bulk on our Lunala, right? And that's the whole point of this set with Lunala. Less damage, but more bulk. Wyguard looks good here. He went for Glacial Lance. He got baited, right? He should have just went for High Horsepower because a Spore was never picking up, you know, as many attacks as I wanted to. So we made a lot of mistakes, but, you know, Wyguard in the end, you know, he got baited, and now we just heal our Lunala back up, and now we just kind of win in the end. But again, the error on our part was not removing the Urshifu. It would have been a much easier game had we went for that instead, but that did not happen. But we were still able to pull it out because we baited him into clicking Glacial Lance. But in that scenario for him, just click High Horsepower, remove the Lunala, and it dies. We get off the Spore, but, you know, how much am I really going to do to a Calyrex? Assuming that all three turns are there. Like, he was pretty healthy in that sense, so yeah, that's on us. Okay, Weezing is annoying here, right? So like these Weezing Calyrex teams, you know, he doesn't have Dozo, unfortunately, right? Or I guess I should say fortunately, but you know, we can't really intimidate. You know, he's going to take off Photosynthesis and Shadow Shield for that matter. But at the same time, you know, Intimidate looks pretty good, especially Instant in the late game scenario. I just have to make sure I try and get rid of this Weezing immediately, right? So let's see what he does. I'm going to go with Lunala. I'm going to go with Roaring Moon just in case. And he does lead the Weezing, so he has pressure into the Roaring Moon already. And there is the Chien-Pao. So I'm just going to protect and just try and deal some damage into Pao here. This is risky to go Grass Terra into the Pao, but I know he wants the Roaring Moon. They're too greedy, right? So here's the Meteor Beam. Now, he makes a mistake by not putting Sash on this Chien-Pao here, because now I just get the free reign here. He clicks Taunt, but that's fine, right? But again, Sash Pao would have been amazing for him, but now he didn't have it. So now we just click Moongeist Beam here. We chip the Weezing. Okay, he goes for Outrage, removes the Roaring Moon, but again, I have Tailwind support here. And there is the Dazzling Gleam. Decent chip damage, but I get to go into Incineroar now. Okay, I get to, you know, click Moongeist Beam into the Weezing. Okay, and now I get off my Will-O-Wisp, right? And he's actually not even inner focus. So there's the Intimidate. We get off Will-O-Wisp. He goes for Outrage, doesn't do that much. Okay, and now he's confused, right? And then he doesn't even bring the Shadow Rider, bro. He brought in Urshifu, and he has no choice but to concede there. So Roaring Moon had some pretty good ideas there, but again, no Sash on the Chien-Pao I thought was a huge mistake, especially after like I clicked Grass Terra. So, you know, to each their own there, but I was just going for it, but he ended up not having a Sash. Okay, so now I'm going to show you another variation here. So we're going to still borrow the Indeedee-Chiyu stuff, and we'll still go with like the single strike Urshifu here. But the one thing that I do want to do with this one in particular is to improve the Kyogre matchup a little bit, and actually go with the Wellspring Ogerpon here, right? So Wellspring Ogerpon is a little bit less used than the other ones, like the Heart Flame and then the Cornerstone, but it still kind of works here. You still get this interesting Fire, Water, Grass core coming from these guys. You still have a Shadow Rider matchup here. You still get Expanding Force spam over here. You get double redirection now, okay? And that's pretty good if you want to set up Trick Room. And then our Tailwind support can either be the Whimsicott or Tornadus. I'm just going to go with Tornadus here. All right, so like we have ideas with this stuff, so you can just go, I'll leave the Tornadus over there. So the Lunala set, we're going to go back to our other set, you know, with a little bit more speed and more max attack here, and with that physical bulk just to survive Jolly Surge, you know, Wicked Blow there. We'll still go Grass Terra. The Indeedee more or less stays the same here, but what I want to do this time is go with the Alluring Voice on Indeedee with Terra Fairy. So this way we can put pressure on some of those dark types. And then at the same time, if they get a stat rise, you know, we can go with the Luring Voice, maybe get off a Confusion if we can nail it, right? This is still the same with the Chiyu here, Scarf Chiyu here. I have Taunt again instead of the Sucker Punch / U-Turn. If you like U-Turn, you can definitely do U-Turn. Up to you. It just all depends on what you want to do. Like, we're definitely going Taunt on this Tornadus. So you have two types of Taunt. You can Taunt here, or you can just rely on you know, just Prankster Taunt over here. But to each their own. You know, I'm testing both, and you know, pros and cons to each, of course. But with this Ogerpon, we're just gonna go with Ivy Cudgel, of course, Horn Leech for a little bit more recovery, and then Follow Me, and then Spiky Shield. Okay, and then with the Tornadus, we're just gonna go with the Covert Cloak over here with Terra Dark Terra. So this way they can't really taunt us if we have to use it. And really, what I want to do is just go like Timid Nature here and go about 92 speed just to outspeed the Timid Ogres. And then go 212, all right, 188. This is for Surging Strike shenanigans. And then just put 12 points in speed and 1 point in the attack. And then just simply just do, again, Tailwind, Bleak Wind Storm, Rain Dance, and then Taunt, right? Rain Dance help our Ogerpon do a little bit more damage. And then, yeah, right? And then, okay. So for this Ogerpon, really what it comes down to is I actually want to be a Jolly Ogerpon-Wellspring, and just have enough speed to outspeed, you know, the Chiyus that are not Scarf, or even like Landorus, right? So for that, I'm just going to make him just about 190. Yeah, I'm going to go 196 here. Make him 170. You know, this is for Lando, okay? And then we have the Ivy Cudgel pressure. But, you know, I don't really... I still also want to live, you know, stuff like, you know, Draco Meteor and whatnot. So all in all, I just want to do something like this. I'm going to go 164 investment here for the Rillaboom stuff. And then I just need 1 point in the attack, okay? I don't need any more. I don't need this thing to do like big damage. It's just for like Kyogre stuff. And then at the same time, Ivy Cudgel is still always going to KO the Landorus if it doesn't Terra. And then I don't really need defense. I want a little bit more depth here. You know, I want to redirect things, okay? But this is pretty good. I outspeed the Landorus. I have the Rillaboom terrain recovery. After that, I'm just, you know, I don't really need attack. I just dump the rest into Spit F here, right? And that's all I need my Ogerpon to really do. After that, the Chiyu, Ursh are the same. The Indeedee is the same. The Lunala is the same, right? So this is another variant for our Lunala here. And again, you know, you can see the ideas, right? With the Chiyu, the Ogerpon, the Ursh. We still have a Tailwind mode, and we still have a Trick Room mode that we can take advantage of. We're back to using Expanding Force stuff. So yeah, let's see how this one works out. Okay, this is one of those Koraidon teams here with, you know, Raging Bolt and Flutter Mane here. He chose to put the Entei here. There's the Ogerpon, and there is no Chien-Pao here. There is no Ditto. There is no Umbreon. Instead, he has an Amoongus for his Trick Room matchup. The Ice Rider matchup for him looks kind of scary here, but I'm sure he can somewhat manage. But again, this is where something like, again, Lunala looks pretty good, again, with Expanding Force. Even with our Tailwind mode looks really strong. And then Chiyu just does a lot in the sun over here. So, you know, if we even have this scenario of clicking Meteor Beam into the Entei or Koraidon Terrifier, we can do it. But again, it just all depends how he leads. So he goes with Raging Bolt and Ogerpon. So definitely Koraidon's in the back. It can give his Raging Bolt a special attack boost here. But again, you know, Trick Room looks pretty good. Ivy Cudgel does a lot of damage, right? I click Expanding Force just to see. I'm actually faster than his Raging Bolts. So he's not max speed. So I click Trick Room, which means his Raging Bolt is going to go before me, right? So there it is. All right, we get some information on the speed tier, right? Does a lot of damage into his Bolt. I could have even clicked Meteor Beam here, right? He goes into Flutter Mane. I definitely should have clicked Meteor Beam. All right, he gets rid of the Indeedee because now Expanding Force would have done a lot more into Flutter Mane, maybe even picked up the KO there. So mistake by us. We go into Tornadus. Funny enough, he goes into Koraidon here. He gives his Flutter a speed boost, which means we're going to have the power on the Trick Room. Here, I always should have clicked Meteor Beam here because he's scared of dying to Bleak Wind and expanding. He's going to Terra Fire here. Meteor Beam would have been great here, but this is our second mistake by not going for the Meteor Beam here, and we lose the Lunala. But that's on us. But again, we still have, you know, another turn of Trick Room here. We can get rid of the Flutter, and then we can remove the Koraidon. But he's forced to protect because he's scared, right? And the Bleak Wind picks up the Flutter because we have the Chiyu on the field, right? So now Trick Room is gone, which means, you know, he just has an Ogerpon, and we're faster anyway. So I just always clicked Heat Wave / Bleak Wind here, and you know, we just win because again, our Chiyu is scarfed there. So again, we made 2 mistakes, which means we could have ended the game a little bit better, a little bit more efficiently, but we still had enough tools with the Tornadus Chiyu combination to finish things off. Okay, so here's the Ogerpon idea here for the Kyogre matchup. So he's got a pretty interesting Kyogre team here. He has both Pelipper and Kyogre. You usually don't see that. So I think that's a bit of a mistake in terms of team building here. I understand the Thundurus rather than the Tornadus. I guess I somewhat understand the Toxicroak here. I don't think it's needed, but you don't need the Pelipper and the Kyogre. I think that's a little bit overkill. I'd rather see something else in there, like maybe a Landorus, for example, or something, but not necessarily a Pelipper for this. But he does do it. So he's going to go with Ogre. He's going to go with his Thundurus, so he can do a lot of things here. He can do Thunder Wave. He has Wild Bolt Storm at his disposal here. Lots of plays. So I'm going to go Wellspring, Ogerpon just in case. He goes Terra Dark, so I was going to taunt him, but he went Dark Terra. So what a play by him, committing the Terra, which means the Ogre can't Terra though, and he clicks Water Spout. He does get rid of my Tornadus, but now, you know, Ogerpon can do whatever it wants. Here's our Urshifu. Okay, I go Terra Stellar here. I don't think I even needed to. And, you know, he forgot about what Urshifu is, right? So there's the Horn Leash. We pressure it. Okay, we get rid of the Thundurus there. If he even clicked Wild Bolt Storm, he would have been fine. But, you know, because he would have just removed the Urshifu for that matter. But instead, the Urshifu lives, right? It's a Calm Mind Ogre. He has leftovers. There's his Urshifu here. So there's the Archelodon. I always click Close Combat over there. All right, he goes for U-turn. He doesn't kill. All right, he goes into the Kyogre there. And I had a feeling he might try and bring the Arc, so this is where the Close Combat looks really good there, right? So now he's in trouble, okay, because now the Ogre is at my Ogerpon's disposal. There is an Urshifu here, but there is the U-turn. He can only pick one, and I know he's a Scarf one, and that's fine because we're faster than the Ogre, and we just kind of win. Now here comes Lunala, and he has nothing else to do. He just removes the Ogre. But again, you know, we just click Expanding Force, and then we just end the Urshifu. So you know, I guess mistake on our opponent by not going for Wild Bolt Storm. He would have removed the Ursh, which means the Archelodon could have, you know, really done something here. But I still felt like we had enough tools to finish this off here. All right, this one's another typical CSR balance here. Chi looks golden here. You know, just Snarl Pressure, Heat Wave, or Overheat into the Rillaboom, and then Lunala Indeedee stuff can do a lot of damage here. But funny enough, I do bring the Wellspring here. You know, I just wanted to try a couple things here just in case he did lead Incin and the Calyrex. He did lead the Incin Calyrex. But I was kind of scared of it. So in the end, I just switch out into Indeedee because, again, fake out pressure and whatnot. But I'm just, you know, I could have just easily Meteor Beamed this Incin here. He actually did go for the fake out, funny enough. I don't like that play at all. And this is a bad play by us too. I think you just always go for the Incin there. There's the Ogre, there's the switch out into the Bolt. Now we remove the Incin. Now we could have did this the other turn there. So that's on us. We do click Trick Room. The Raging Bolt without speed, but that's okay. I have redirection. And we just wipe with Expanding Force here. There's no Rillaboom, by the way. I think not bringing Rillaboom is just a mistake, you know, to Indeedee games here. Because now it's just over. Okay, there's the CSR Raging Bolt. Now we can click Alluring Voice just in case it did not KO. I still clicked Expanding Force. It's fine here because he can't really beat the Lunala even with the Astral Barrage. The Indeedee doesn't even take any damage. And then, yeah, it's over. He just forfeits. But I think just Chi-Yu Lunala lead there just really pins that kind of team. You know, you always have a ton of pressure with Snarl and Meteor Beam. Okay, last variant here, and I won't, like, you know, technically build the team from scratch because it's still all pieces that we've used before. We're still going with Tornadus, Lunala, Indeedee, Urshifu for, you know, our aggressive mode here. This is a U-turn Urshifu now instead of something like Taunt. It's okay. Follow Me Psychic, you know, with Terra Water here. Psychic Seeds is also pretty cool here. And again, Lunala with Expanding Force and Meteor Beam is strong. Tornadus, same set as before. And then the Ursaluna, same set as before. Terra Fairy still a thing here. And then the Amoongus can come here now, right? So double redirection still. I put Clear Smog just in case we run into the Dondozo stuff. But in the end, you know, this is just another, our last variant. We've given you like 5 variations. So, you know, just pick and choose. But hopefully we've given you some ideas. But let's just do a couple quick games for this and then we'll get you guys out of here. All right, and lo and behold, you ask and you shall receive. So here's a Dondozo matchup with CSR and Weezing. He's got the Sneasler and the Mousehold here. So funny enough, I actually chose not to bring the Amoongus. I brought some other stuff, and I realized at the end, like, oh wait, I forgot to bring Amoongus for Dondozo. Well, that was on me, but look how we were able to still win because we had better positioning. So I'm gonna go with Tornadus Urshifu here. He goes with Calyrex and Weezing. Okay, he didn't even lead the Dozo here. He has it in the back, but I'm gonna go Indeedee just in case he went for fake out stuff. I debated if I should have Terra the Ursh here, right? And I do. There's the fake out, it doesn't go off here. There's the Astral, doesn't do anything to Indeedee, of course. A lot of damage here. I could have even tried to go for the Sneasler here, but I just always want to pressure the Calyrex here in this case, right? So then we just go Protect here. He goes with Astral, okay? And, you know, interestingly enough, there's the Dire Claw. And what I could have done, right? I could have went for the Calyrex there, but I went for Trick Room here. You know, I guess I could have pressured the Calyrex. That was just on me. Like, it was just out. I thought he would switch, right? But here comes double swap into Dozo Tatsugiri. No Amoongus. So what can I do, right? Well, I can still click Surging Strikes. I can still deal decent amount of damage. That's 18%, right? Trick Room is up, okay? I can, you know, Follow Me this turn. I know he can't really kill me. I can still deal more damage, right? So now this is about, again, 18% there. Right, Order Up. Again, he's boosting up his defense, but that's not mattering in terms of Surging Strikes. I'm going to go into Lunala now. I don't want to lose the Indeedee here. I'm going to protect Ursh because I know he's going to try and go for it, right? And always make me pin and click Surging, Follow Me. But here's a Meteor Beam, right? And I'm doing this because Trick Room is almost over. I'm trying to get a little bit more damage here. I'm going to U-turn, right? And go into Tornadus here, right? So this is where the pivot move comes into handy. I survive because Tornadus is bulky. The Trick Room is over, right? I go for Tailwind now, and here is the Moongeist Beam. It actually does a good amount of damage, okay? And there's the Body Press, which you can't even click into Lunala anyway. Does not kill Tornadus, okay? I'm going to go into Indeedee because I know he's just going to protect here. Does not want to die, okay? So we're managing here, all right? There's, again, Moongeist Beam. you know, this is fine, leftovers and stuff. So just in case it doesn't pick up, I still click Helping Hand, I still click Moongeist Beam. All right, there it is. And now the Tatsugiri is just all by itself, along with the Calyrex, but he brings in Sneasler. So here's the Helping Hand, right? Expanding Force just removes everything, no Sash. Funny enough, no Sash. All right, and here comes the CSR, and it's pretty much over. Look at this, right? He's just all by himself, and he has no choice but to click Forfeit. Who needs Amoongus, right? You know, as long as you have speed control, you can get rid of Dondozo. The Urshifu was really key there, ignoring all those defenses and just keep clicking Surging Strikes until Lunala could deal enough chip damage and just get rid of it. Okay, so we actually ran into the same Kyogre player again, and you know, it's fine because we know some of his sets already. You know, I would imagine the Thunderous Ogre League comes again here, but we got something for him this time. So here's what we're gonna do. He's gonna do Thunderous Tornadus. Okay, I'm gonna go Lunala and Amoongus. The idea here is to bait him into clicking Taunt here. So I'm gonna go switch into the Indeedee now, and guess what we're clicking after this, right? Terra Grass just to resist the Ogre here. Technically, I didn't even necessarily need to go Terra Grass here, but just in case. Expanding Force does a lot. There's the Water Spout, does like no damage. Okay, so now we're kind of chilling here, and he has no choice, right? Helping Hand comes out again. Wild Bolt Storm is funny, but again, we resist that. We have the Grass Terra. Expanding Force just kills the Ogre and the Thunders because of Helping Hand. Look at that. Okay, now he just has no choice. There's the Archelodon. That's fine. There's the Urshifu again. Listen, Terra Water Ursh does not matter. There's the Follow Me again. He goes Surging Strikes. That's okay. Even if he outspend me, which he doesn't, we just click Expanding Force. The Urshifu dies. The Arc, okay, he can click whatever he wants. If he wants to click Electro Shot, he can do that. But I have the pin here. I have Amoongus. Okay, I click Expanding Force again. No Terra comes out still. He goes for the Draco. He actually removes the Lunala, funny enough. I could have even just clicked Redirection. But, you know, I also tried to heal my Lunala. Bad play on our part, but again, all we have to do is just Spore, right? There's the Body Press. Doesn't matter. I can Spore him now. I can Clear Smog him if I want. But now we're locked and loaded. There's no more rain. Okay, he's fast asleep. And now we just click Headlong Rush and that's it, right? You know, it was pretty cool. Like, I had to bring Ursaluna just because I know he has like all this electric stuff here. And under Trick Room, Ursaluna was looking really good if I had the position to even go for it. All right, so let's run through all 5 Lunala variants one more time here. So this one is with the Torkoal stuff with Ursaluna. So you have a little bit more of a dedicated Trick Room mode here. You still have the fast mode with, you know, Whimsicott, Ursh, Lunala here. Indeed, Expanding Force is a key component here. And again, Torkoal specs looks really good. You know, technically, Torkoal could be your restricted with all this damage if you're able to, you know, get up your Trick Room. Then the second variation uses the Chiyu instead, along with Urshifu Rapid Strike here with Taunt. You can, again, instead of Taunt, you can definitely put U-Turn over here just to position yourself. But this is another variation that you can consider. The Whimsicott looks still pretty good here with like Light Screen Encore stuff if you want to do it. Otherwise, you can look at another set here, but I still think this is okay. And then after this, our Lunala changes a little bit. We go almost less, like almost no special attack. We still have Modest, of course, but again, we're super bulky here because we're just clicking Wide Guard and stuff. But we have Roaring Moon, Urshifu, defensive backbone with Instant Amoongus, and then Ursaluna in the end game can also do a lot of damage here. But Wide Guard is really good with something like this. Then over here, a little bit interesting idea here with Ogerpon-Wellspring. You know, with Chiyu, you get another Fire, Water, Grass core here. A little bit more of an improved Ogre matchup, I would say, just because you have the Wellspring here. And then this last variation, you know, with still the Amoongus here, but no Instant. But you still get Tornadus, Lunala, you know, with Follow Me, Indeedee stuff. This one did not have Alluring Voice. This one did. I'm still going with Psychic, Terra Water. And then, you know, again, this one has the U-Turn over the Taunt. And ideally, they all work, okay? It just all depends on how you want to play your Lunala and what kind of pieces do you want to surround it with. And as long as you have the matchups for specific restricteds and some of the Lunala weaknesses, then you're okay, right? A strong fighting type of Lunala is good because you can pin the dark types against the Lunala, right? And then a ground type is pretty good also, just because for your Marina matchup. Indeedee is good for that reason as well, you know, removing terrain. and then, you know, just another Trick Room setter on your team. And then along with Helping Hand Pressure is looking really good. Tornadus gives you a speed control for the fast mode, okay? And then you enable your Urshifu in this case, or you enable an Ogerpon or a Chiyu for that matter. But you have, the pieces are there, okay? It just all depends on how you want to build. So hopefully one of these 5 is to your liking. And again, this will help you get started. We'll put all of these in the video description below. But if you're still needing some help in terms of team building, if you've got a tournament you're going to, if you got an upcoming regional and you need some assistance, make sure you check out coaching on the channel. You look in the video description below or in the comment section. Tier 3 gets you a one-on-one session with me, and then we can build you a team that you want from scratch, and hopefully that will help you satisfy your needs. We can do some test runs with it as well, but ultimately if that is something that you need help with, make sure you sign up, and then from there you can message us on Discord, and then we will find a time that we can meet. All right, but that's it for now, folks. We'll be back with another video in the next one. Peace out and have a good one.